Hello everybody and welcome to my review for season 1 of the show BOJACK Horseman. So BOJACK Horseman is an animated TV show that is on Netflix and features the voice talents of people like Arnett and Alison Brie. And I think that both of those people did a great job in terms of their voice work. And that kind of brings me to my first point, which is that all the characters, the people who play those characters, have all done a really good job in this show. I think that their voices really match the characters, and they're able to bring enough, charm and inflection within their voices to make for really believable cartoon characters. Aaron Paul also voices a character in the show, and I think he also did an excellent job. But I think for me personally, Will Arnett is just perfect as BoJack Horseman. I think he's done a great job with his voice work for the show. And not only is the voice cast of the show really good, the characters that the show has created are really great as well. I think that almost every character in this first season is really memorable and ultimately very likable, even when you're not really supposed to like them. BoJack Horseman, as a character, he's not the most likable person, but as you get to know his character, he becomes more and more likable. And I think that as a character study, of BoJack Horseman, who plays kind of this disgruntled, forgotten Hollywood star, he makes for a really interesting subject for a character study, which I think is the reason why a lot of people have grown to love this show. And personally, I really enjoyed season 1 too, is because the entire show, despite the very funny and great supporting characters in the show, I think the main focus of the show for season 1 is BoJack Horseman. And while filming this review, I have started watching a little bit of season 2. I'm not going to let that affect my review for season 1, but for me personally, so far in season 2, I've felt like there's been a change and shift in terms of, focus on BoJack Horseman. But what I liked about season 1 is how much focus they gave on the main lead character. And of course, Will Arnett is great as BoJack Horseman, playing, this basically disgruntled Hollywood star. It really works. It's a really interesting character study. And as you kind of peel back the layers and depths of his character, you will, as an audience member, grow to like him or at least appreciate him. And that is one of my favorite things about the show, is how likable and memorable the characters are. Even supporting characters like Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter and Todd, they're all very funny, and each one has at least an arc or some sort of emotional depth that makes you, really start to connect with these characters over time. Overall, this is a really funny show. For me, though, the first few episodes go a little bit on the more wacky or exaggerated side, and that's really no fault of the show. The show itself is built to be wacky and exaggerated, especially due to its premise and some of the amazing possibilities that you have with the world that this show creates. But for me, the first few episodes were kind of like the show kind of finding its right footing before it kind of found its own, tone and kind of stuck with it. So the first few episodes kind of feel a bit uneven, and it feels like the show hasn't necessarily found the type of humor it wants to go for, and it only focuses more on the crazy side of the humor, and it feels a little more scattered and random and kind of cheap. But by the time the show starts going into its later episodes, you really find this to be a show where the wackiness kind of takes a backseat, and the show becomes more of a character study of BoJack Horseman and the other characters, and it almost becomes kind of a satirical show rather than a more exaggerated show. And I enjoyed that more about the season 1, kind of those later episodes where it took a form of satire, a tone of satire about Hollywood and kind of about BoJack Horseman's life without ruining too much. Yes, obviously I am reviewing and continuing this review on a later date, but kind of continuing on with my review, what I love about season 1 is how much of the focus remains on BoJack Horseman. While I'm doing this review, I have seen a little bit of season 2, and I felt like that focus has shifted a little bit. Not going to formulate an opinion or talk about that in this review though, quite yet. Just going to wait till I finish season 2. But for me, what I like about season 1 is how much of the focus does remain on BoJack's character, and you kind of get to know this character. Because in the first few episodes, you're introduced to this character, and by the time the show kind of finds where it wants to be in terms of not only his character, but also its humor and style and tone, we really begin to appreciate BoJack as a character, and as I said earlier, it becomes really a character study about him and his relationships in this season. So in terms of season one overall for BoJack Horseman, I would say the show goes through a lot of phases. Kind of starts as this wacky show that's poking fun at its humanoid animal world, and then kind of turns into a satire about Hollywood. But I think where BoJack Horseman season one really finds its place and comes to its own is in the moments where it's studying BoJack Horseman as a character. Whether it be his fears or his emotions or his relationships with the other characters, the central focus on the shows, or this season at least, is about BoJack Horseman, and that's what I personally enjoyed the most in this show. And it is a very funny show. The script is very intelligently written. The comedy never feels forced. It comes very naturally. And there's many different types of comedy that they do try in this season. So overall, I would say that season one of BoJack Horseman is really enjoyable. I'm going to give this one an A-. I really enjoyed it, and I'm also enjoying season 2 right now. So guys, be sure to check this one out, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all those great things, and I'll see you guys next time.